Hi, I'm Stewart Home. I'm here in Finestres in Barcelona, and I'm here to recommend a few books. Now, this is a book from the 60s, a British writer called Quinn. Fantastic novel. I was rereading it in the 90s on a bus to see John King, who wrote Football Factory, and it gave me the idea for my best-selling book in English, 69 Things to Do with a Dead Princess. So I riffed off the Quinn book for that. We're moving on to Chloe Arages, who's a Mexican novelist who now lives in London. She's now a very good friend of mine. She wasn't when this book was published. She was someone I just knew, an acquaintance. But this book, Book of Clouds in English, is about her living in Berlin in the early part of this century. It's a fantastic tale of loneliness, brings up all her goth obsessions, which I don't always share, but it always makes me smile to see them in her books. So this is another fantastic novel about someone living in Berlin, but who's not from Berlin, who's from Mexico City. Then we move on to Hannah Leo. And this is a book that was first published in English because I was running a series for a publisher called Bookworks, and we had an open submission series, and every year when all the open submissions came in, there'd be several hundred terrible books and there'd be a few really fantastic books, and this was one of the fantastic books I pulled out of the pile. She wrote it in English, so I needed a little bit of editing, but I'm sure in Spanish, which is Hannah's native language, it'll be absolutely fantastic. It's her account of being raped in New York, among other things, but there's also a kind of emotional perspective, but a very interesting theoretical perspective to do with how crime is localized to a kind of increased property value. So this is a really fantastic book by a Spanish writer, not just a Spanish speaker like Chloe Arages. And finally, we have a book I recognize with my mother on the cover, who looks quite like me, Tainted Love in English, and in Spanish. The song, of course, is the famous Gloria Jones B-side, which was a massive song for me in the mid-70s Northern Soul scene in the UK. And it's an account of my mother's life from more or less when she arrived in London in 1960. I was born a couple of years later, through to her death from a heroin overdose in 1979, but she was part of the kind of Ladbroke Grove scene and knew very many famous people, so there's a lot of well-known names in here, and there was a few I couldn't include because they're alive and very rich and would sue me if I had included them. But another fantastic novel by someone who speaks no Spanish whatsoever.